Welcome to Cloud on Air, live webinars from Google Cloud. We are hosting webinars daily. My name is Jeffrey Jagoda, and today we are going to be talking about Chrome Enterprise and keeping your business safe in the cloud. Thank you for joining me. Throughout our presentation, you can ask questions anytime on our platform, and we have Googlers standing by to answer them. Now let's get started into the presentation. So the title of this presentation is Keeping Your Business Safe in the Cloud. And I think you're here today because a lot of businesses face challenges as they move to the cloud and keeping their information and their businesses secure. And given the fact that you're joining us today, you probably have some of these same concerns for your business. Since the advent of the cloud, we've helped to address many of these concerns, but there's a lot of traditional security concerns that you may have as you face moving towards the cloud. So we're going to be covering Chrome Enterprise has a very unique approach to endpoint security and simplifies device management and keeps your data safe and your users protected. Click bar, there we go. So I think we're all aware in today's environment that the threat of sophisticated attacks is constantly on the increase. Overall, malware variants have increased 88% since 2017, and the attack vector surfaces have increased. Ransomware, like WannaCry, has infected over 400,000 machines, and 98% of victims were Windows 7 computers. And as Windows 7 is still out in the environment, they are still vulnerable to ransomware. And finally, phishing attempts are one of the most common ways that infections find themselves into organizations. Through email, users are deceived to click onto attacks and put software onto their computers and unwillingly give out information, including their data and username and passwords, which can be a major security concern for companies. So let's also talk about the material impact it has on businesses as they try to address these vulnerabilities. So year over year, security companies have new software offerings out in the environment, and companies are increasingly buying software to help protect against these threats. So the security market is forecasted to increase about 9% in the following year here in 2019. What the major concern, though, is that the number of threats is increasing by 27%. So while there's an increase in technology to help mitigate it, the threats far exceed the ability to mitigate them. And so this is a growing problem because the amount that you spend to protect your information and protect your endpoints may not correlate to your ability to actually mitigate those risks and defend from them. So as we've seen, where traditional security approach is broken. There's a lot of familiar threats that are cataloged by security companies and security software, and then they're implemented by your security teams and organizations, IT administrators, to hopefully combat that security threat that you have in your environment. The fact is, though, that increasing the global security budget shows that a genuine willingness to address these threats from companies, but it doesn't mean that it actually decreases the number of incidents that organizations have. And so the organizations incrementally funnel more and more time into patchwork, security systems, endpoint protection, and putting out spot fires, but they don't have a holistic approach to fixing these issues. And simply throwing money at it doesn't actually solve the problem either. And it's time to rethink your endpoint strategy. And this is something that Google Chrome Enterprise is available for you to rethink that, right? So let's talk about Chrome OS. It's built with security by design. It was built like that when the platform originally started, and isn't like your traditional endpoint where usually you're layering on third-party software to protect it. It's a completely different mind shift in your thinking on how to protect your endpoint. Trusted applications is another way to increase your security in your environment and decrease vulnerabilities by only publishing secured applications and applications that are approved by the organization. You reduce the threat to your business by having unknown applications in your environment. And finally, protection against current threats. And this goes back to, like most organizations, they have to update their computer systems and their software and their endpoints constantly to stay protected against these threats. To combat these, we often deploy different OSs or other embedded OSs to help with these security factors. where malware and some of these other things aren't available by design, but then you're still left as an administrator still combating these threats with other third-party tools. So now let's look how Chrome Enterprise has a completely different approach to how you can keep your business safe. Chrome Enterprise devices and browser, Chrome browser, are secure by design. They deter users from falling hostage to harmful attacks. In the event that one does happen, Chrome Enterprise has various security tools built in to mitigate those attacks and lessen the ability that they would have on your systems. We have a series of management tools and a multifaceted ecosystem of various products to ensure that you stay safe within your organization. We also offer 24/7 support to protect you and your assets, including your people, your data, and your customers. So now let's talk and go a little more in depth about the security by design about Chrome OS and Chrome devices. So Chrome devices are built with security from the ground up. And you can see in the representation of the chart here, every Chromebook is built with this same principles in mind: the firmware, the OS, the applications, and the data, and the applications being Chrome OS and other applications you deploy in your environment. So no matter what hardware manufacturer you pick, whether it's an HP, a Samsung, an Acer, or Google-made hardware like this Pixelbook, all these pieces are within every single Chrome device that you may purchase as a customer. They all work in harmony together. The firmware, the OS, and the applications and the data are all updated through one update through your Chrome OS update, and they work in harmony together. And additionally, Google works very closely with the manufacturers, so there's no, so only the hardware works with Chrome OS that's developed by the manufacturer. So finally, let's talk about data encryption. It's a very popular topic that comes up, and in many traditional environments, enterprises are left having to find third-party tools to encrypt their data, not only of their operating systems, but of their user data as well. Chrome OS out of the box protects any user data with encryption on the device. There is a trusted platform module, which is a tamper-proof design that helps protect the user data on the devices by encrypting it as the users are working within their session. This tamper-proof system was designed by Google and is implemented by the OEMs and is available on every single Chrome device. And in fact, encryption is the default on every Chrome device. There is no way to have a Chrome device that is non-encrypted. So let's talk a little bit about preventing OS tampering. And this is another very unique thing that Google's able to do with Chrome OS that enhances its security beyond traditional OSs. Verified boot is a manner in which the Google hardware, along with the firmware and the OS, is able to check against the known image that is made and provided by Google that is in that known stable state as it was originally deployed. So in this example here, if the OS was to be tampered with, it would not pass verified boot. When it doesn't pass verified boot, the device is not booting and the data is not available to users. And at that point, the device either needs to be re-imaged or wiped so it could be restored to factory defaults. So let's also talk about Chrome OS and how it actually reduces your data footprint. Chrome OS devices are unique in which data is not traditionally stored on an OS. While it does have a file system, it is not traditional like a traditional file system that can be accessed by applications and users. The file system is essentially locked down and is not accessible, and it is not accessible by the application. So it really reduces the attack vector that malicious applications would have on the device. Additionally, by reducing the actual data, the user data and your company data on the device, if the device is lost, you can be assured that company data isn't on the device because the data is used in the cloud and is not stored locally on the device. But we can also know that if data is stored on the device, it is in an encrypted partition in the user partition. And finally, a feature that's very popular in Chrome OS is what's called ephemeral mode, which means every time the user enters and exits their session, any local data, any cache data is wiped every single time. So they have a clean user session and no data is left behind. There's no data footprint. So regularly patching an update is a very common administrative task of computer systems, and Chrome has a unique update method for its Chrome devices. So every 6 weeks, Google produces a new version of Chrome OS, and it is available for Chrome OS devices to be updated to. It is in best practice to keep your Chrome OS up to date using automatic updates. And additionally, security patches are delivered every 2 to 3 weeks as well. We offer what's known as dev, beta, and stable channel to our customers so they can actually be testing Chrome OS software ahead of its actual release to stable branch. This gives security organizations, IT administrators, and application owners the ability to test their applications before it's launched to stable. So if there are security issues that need to be mitigated with an application, an IT team is able to discover those early on before Chrome is updated. And finally, the most unique thing about Chrome updates is how quickly they happen in the background. Patching is really a seamless process where patches happen in the background. It's one patch for your Chrome OS update, and that includes your firmware, your hardware, the OS, and the application. And that one update happens in the background and is nothing more than a 6-second reboot or a close of the lid and reopening of Chrome. So Google also offers a lot of other services outside of the Chromebook that also help deter employee negligence. So I think we all know in a corporate office there is extracurricular internet browsing, and that can introduce vulnerabilities into your environment. Users clicking on phishing emails or visiting websites outside their corporate allow list. And what Google offers is Google Safe Browsing. Safe Browsing prompts users about malicious sites before they navigate to them. And this is the power of Google keeping a huge database of known websites that are malicious or ransom in nature and prevent users from going to them, and will prompt users if they go to them. And from the administrative side, from an enterprise management side, you have the ability to block users going to them. And this is a Google product, Google service that you can layer on top of your Chrome OS device to make sure any of that extra browsing doesn't affect your infrastructure. So now let's talk about some of the various application stores that Google manages to keep malicious apps off your devices and can present users with different aspects and features of Chrome. So there's many different types of applications that you can deploy on Chrome OS. On Chrome OS, you can use our Google Play Store. This is the Android market that you're very similar to using on your Android device, and you can deploy Android applications to your Chrome OS device. You can also access the Chrome browser, which is a popular way to access web applications. Finally, the Chrome Web Store. These are extensions that you can install onto your Chrome browser and your Chrome OS device. And most recently is running native Linux applications. Linux can run within a container on your Chrome OS device, and you can deploy Linux applications to them. So let's talk about sandboxing. Sandboxing is something that is very unique to Google Chrome and to Chrome OS that is at the heart of its security model. Sandboxing is the concept that all browser tabs, applications, and web apps that you deploy to your devices are contained within themselves, and they do not have access to the OS and to other applications. This is a model that makes sure that your applications cannot access your OS, cannot access your data, and applications cannot cross-talk to one another. And site isolation on top of this keeps all the processes within each browser tab separate. Part of this methodology is what keeps your Chrome OS device so secure that even if you do hit a malicious site, that it only stays within that one sandbox and is not able to affect other areas of your Chrome device. The Chrome Web Store is a very popular Chrome marketplace where you can download extensions and get various applications to deploy to your users. From an enterprise management side, you can push those applications out to your users, and users also have the ability to manually install them. Chrome Web Store applications also have permissions that they will affect on your Chrome device, and as an administrator, you have the ability to block permissions so certain applications cannot access certain areas of your Chrome device, such as maybe blocking a USB port. And finally, other Chrome security measures have been in place to disable the inline install of extensions. So extensions can only be installed from Google's Chrome Web Store, where machine learning and artificial intelligence is used to ensure those applications deployed do not contain any malware. So management of Chrome devices is a very popular method to managing the various policies on your device. There's over 200 policies available in the console, and at this time, some of the blacklisting and whitelisting of extensions and applications are widely used by enterprises to pick and choose applications that they deploy in their environment, whether it be to users or to devices. You also have the ability to blacklist URLs, and prevent users from accessing sites that you have forbidden as an organization. And finally, the password alert policy is something that you can employ to ensure that your users don't use their corporate password in non-corporate authorized websites. So this can ensure that their corporate-owned passwords do not become phished or utilized in other areas outside of the corporate environment. So Android apps on Chromebooks is an ever-growing environment to deploy applications on your Chrome devices. Play Protect is a proprietary way that Google inspects the applications within the Android market, and it scans and removes applications every single day from the marketplace, ensuring that you're only deploying known good applications to your environment. And additionally, as an enterprise feature, as an administrator, you can build a curated list of applications that your users can then choose to install. And as an administrator, you can also choose to deny applications as well that shouldn't be installed. And finally, each individual application may also have individual specific app policies that you can apply to that application as well, whether it be configuration or security settings of the app itself. Now let's go over some protection against current threats and how we can keep our users and our data safe and secure. So phishing is a very common attack vector currently, and phishing is the concept that an email is sent to a user that looks legitimate and is ultimately getting them to click to proceed to another website or application or to download software, but it is not what the user is actually expecting. It is malicious software and is ultimately trying to either exfiltrate their data or gain access to their systems. So Google Safe Browsing is one method you can use to protect yourself against these threats. And at Google, we use what's called as security keys, but essentially a second form factor for your identity can be another popular method to protect your users from phishing. So even if they do willingly give out their password, the attacker won't have the second form factor available. And finally, if the attack prevails, implementing the password alert policy so both users and administrators can be aware that a corporate password has been used on a site that isn't owned or corporately managed. So ransomware is a little bit different. It's designed to block access to a computer system until a sum of money is paid or negotiations have been required to gain access back to your system to recover your data. The Chromebook data model is completely different and is really low on device data footprint, meaning there's no data on a Chromebook really to hold ransom because the data isn't on the device. The Chrome OS is a read-only operating system, meaning that you can't install software to affect the OS to infect it or install software that may do this. And finally, if ransomware did exist for Chromebooks, the verified boot method would ensure that it was not able to be infected and would not pass verified boot methods. And finally is Chromebooks don't run traditional Windows operating systems and executables, making them therefore an inhospitable place to operate within the ransomware environment. So other common attack vectors are malicious applications, and these could be applications that ultimately look to exfiltrate data from your environment or from your users. And permission-based blocking is a popular method to ensure that these applications don't have access to your data. So whether it's blocking access to URLs or blocking access to portions of USB ports and things of that nature, you're able to blacklist or block permissions to applications as well. And Manage Google Play also then lets you just curate that list of applications for your users. So your users aren't using applications that haven't been approved for by IT. And finally, if attacks do happen, remember we have the sandboxing environment, so any attack only happens within that contained sandbox or application environment and doesn't affect the OS and other applications running on your Chrome OS device. So this is a very common question we get from enterprises as they're new into Chrome OS is why Chromebooks don't require antivirus or malware software. So one is really, again, is Chrome OS was designed from the ground up as a secure operating system. It is a read-only operating system, and applications cannot be installed and they cannot modify the OS, therefore limiting the ability of what antivirus software would be able to check for. Sandboxing isolates applications so they can only attack within their own controlled environment. It goes a little bit further that antivirus software typically wants to be able to scan entire systems, and Chrome OS is not a scannable system, nor would have access to scan its other applications. Verified boot is typically another method to prevent tampering of devices, and if a device is tampered with, it won't be bootable, and the user would have to wipe the device in order to regain access to it, and wiping any data along with it. And finally, there is the ability as an administrator to curate and manage your controlled list of extensions and apps to your Chrome devices, further limiting the attack vector and the applications that will run in your environment. So why are Chromebook updates so effective? I'd like to say it's because one update does so many things. The Chrome update is very unique in the ability that it updates your firmware, your operating system, and your application with one update. There's not separate updates for patching applications or patching OS and patching firmware. The update happens in the background, it is seamless to the user, and it is a 6-second reboot. In fact, in many cases, users don't realize they've been updated. And finally, there are ways of managing the updates through the administrative console, so you can selectively choose when updates are delivered to your users and what devices receive the updates. So Chromebooks are really a trusted business laptop in environments, right, to keeping enterprises' data secure as they move to the cloud. And I'm going to be going over a couple of customers that are using Chrome in their environment today. So let's talk about Duo Security. Duo Security is a digital company focused on digital security and trust compliance. And they were looking for a solution for managing their data and ensuring that it's secure no matter where the device is being used or where the device is deployed. So the real solution that they were after is that it's secure by design, that they did not have to layer on third-party software in order to manage their devices. And they also were able to get a premium device experience using Google Pixel hardware. So it offers, in their words, it offered a more effective endpoint control and security. The extensions and the web store offered a wide array of applications and services that they could deploy and manage. And they also mentioned that their premium devices, such as the Google Pixel, is rival over other competitors' devices. And again, suitable for both public-facing and internal use cases. So Charles Schwab is another enterprise that uses Chromebooks. In addition to Chrome OS customer, they are a highly regulated environment and a very security-minded industry. And one of the reasons that they've chose the platform is the settings that it afforded to their administrators in order to manage their devices. Chrome OS devices and Chrome management is a much more simplistic way of managing endpoint devices than traditional OSs. It gives your administrators more time and freedom to do work that has higher value than managing endpoints. And of course, you can always learn more by going to cloud.google.com/Chrome Enterprise Security and learn more about Chrome Enterprise. And I want to thank everyone for their time. And if you'll just please stay tuned, we're going to be going over the live Q&A questions in just a moment. Hi everyone, this is Jeff Jagoda, and I'm back with Cloud OnAir, and we're going to be going over some customer questions that we've gotten from our live audience. So let me read the first question back, and then I'll go into answering it. So we have a question that says, how can customers manage their updates for their fleet of Chrome devices? Chromebooks can be managed through the Chrome Enterprise Administrative Console, and Google Updates can be managed through that console. You're able to organize your devices into a series of OUs, where from there you're able to set policies that control the updates, including if you choose to have auto updates or choose to not have auto updates. At Google, we call that pinning. It is best practice to remain on auto updates, obviously, for best security reasons and application performance. But as an administrator, you do have the ability to pause those updates as well. There's also a number of other settings that allow you to stagger the updates and also control, as we mentioned, the dev, beta, and stable channel as well out to your fleet. So there's lots of options to controlling those updates out to your environment. Let me go to question number 2. Are the security benefits mentioned in this deck available on all Chrome devices with all manufacturers? It's a great question. So Chrome OS is an operating system made by Google that is placed on manufacturer hardware. The manufacturer hardware is negotiated with Google and contains all the proprietary components, like we mentioned, the TPM module and that tamper-proof resistant firmware inside of every single Chrome device. So whether you pick a Chromebook or a Chromebox or other Chrome form factors and hardware independent, whether it is Google-made hardware or by another major OEM, they all contain those same underlying security benefits that you receive. And the operating system is authored by Google for all those same devices. So we have another question here. This question is asking about G Suite. So G Suite is a popular series of applications, including email, docs, sheets, and calendar. So it says, do I need to be a G Suite customer to get all the benefits of Chrome Enterprise? No, you do not need to be a G Suite customer to get the benefits of Chrome Enterprises. We have lots of enterprises that are on traditional productivity applications and are not G Suite customers and are very successful using Chrome OS. They're able to deploy their applications through the Cloud Console and manage them in just a similar manner, but simpler than their traditional Windows devices. And their applications can also be deployed virtually, right, if there are dependencies on Windows applications. And that goes into our next question, asking how will we run PC applications on a Chromebook? So PC applications, or executable applications, EXEs, do not run natively on a Chromebook. What organizations typically do is virtualize applications and deliver them to their Chromebook. So there's many popular virtualization platforms. Google has partnerships with Citrix and VMware to deliver those virtual applications onto your Chromebook. But we work with many other virtualization platforms that are deployed on the Chromebook as well. So let me go on to our next question. So what are common applications customers deploy to their end users? This is a very good question, also very broad, but there's a series of applications that I'd say are very common to deploy on a Chromebook. Some of the most popular applications, I think, are ones that organizations use daily, such as video conferencing and teleconferencing systems, such as WebEx and Zoom and Google Hangouts. But other applications, such as Android applications, are also very popular to deploy, including products by Cisco and Palo Alto and other networking applications that they may use, and other productivity software, such as Microsoft Office, as well as Google G Suite. And again, all those applications can be deployed through the management console and are deployed through the Cloud Console, and they're pushed to the devices. So we have another question here. This is a little more security oriented about, can we explain a little bit more about what ephemeral mode is? So we mentioned in the deck about a unique feature, security feature called ephemeral mode. Ephemeral mode is unique to Chrome OS, and it gives it the ability that every time a user enters and exits their session, that all the local data within their profile is wiped. So whether it's downloaded content that they put in their downloads folder, cache data, passwords, anything that may have been saved during their user session is wiped on the exit of their session, and every new session created is a blank profile, and no data is stored or captured and is wiped clean every time. This is, as we referred to back in the deck, keeping a low data footprint. So it's a very popular method for organizations to deploy ephemeral mode because they can be ensured that there is no data left behind on the device. And our last question here is a little bit on networking and security tools. What networking and security tools are available for Chromebooks? Most of the major manufacturers of networking applications provide applications that both in the web store, the Chrome web store, and on the Android market for networking applications. So whether it's VPN applications or proxy applications, most of the major manufacturers are available within the Google web store and on the Android Play Store. I'd say the more popular ones are obviously Cisco and Palo Alto, but many others exist from the other network providers as well. So I think that wraps up our questions that we've gotten from our audience. I just want to thank everyone for tuning in and to please visit Cloud on Air to discover more content from Google Cloud experts. Thank you very much.